I was training my glutes for years and was not seeing any results until I started implementing these 6 tips. So if you are currently in your glute growth journey and are looking for some tips and wondering why your glutes are not growing, you're probably doing at least one of these things wrong. So the number one thing that I was doing was under eating. I was in a calorie deficit for a long time and I was getting frustrated, wondering why I wasn't getting any results. And I was wondering why my glutes weren't growing while I was, just not eating enough. I was eating like maybe 1,400 calories and wondering, why my glutes weren't growing. I was scared to increase my calories. So once I started increasing my calories, eating at a maintenance and lifting and eating high protein, so eating at least 0.8 to 1 gram per body weight of protein, I started to really see results. So I started eating a high protein diet, high fiber, and eating mostly whole foods. I was cooking at home, meal prepping, and making sure that I was getting my meals in and making sure that my protein goals I was hitting at my protein goals most of the days. So I think that's what made a big difference for me. So eating enough is very important, and I had to learn that throughout my journey. Number 2 is training close to failure. That was something that I had to learn the hard way. I was not pushing myself close to failure at all in the beginning, especially when it was such a big thing where people were saying you'll get bulky if you lift too heavy in the gym. So and it's for upper body, but I just kind of ingrained that in my mind, like if I lift too heavy I'm gonna be like huge, and I don't want that, because at that time I was kind of chasing to be very skinny and not focused on muscle growth at all. Once I started lifting heavy, I started to see my body change for the better. So once I started lifting heavy, pushing myself shy of 1 to 2 reps of failure, I started to really see glute growth. And with lifting heavy, it was so important for me to learn mind muscle connection. If I didn't learn that at all, I would have just kind of just mindlessly lifting heavy weight without properly thinking of and engaging the muscle that I wanted to grow. So for my glutes, I started to really think about my glutes squeezing at the top and kind of lifting the weight by itself and thinking of my glutes squeezing at the top. So once I learned that, it was so much easier for me to train my glutes. Okay, number 3 is sticking to a routine. So I used to switch out my workouts all the time, or I was just doing whatever I felt like that day. So if it was lower body and I found a good exercise, I found a good video on YouTube that day before, I would just go into the gym and do that. And every week I was just switching my workouts. And once I learned that, in order for you to see glute growth, you really have to stick to a routine, even if it's boring. You have to really stick to it. I started writing down my routines for my lower body days and my upper body days, and I just stuck to it for months, and I started to really see results that way. So for my glute days, I keep the same routine, same workouts, same compound movements, and I just do it every week, the same workouts every week, and I just track my progress. Once I started doing that, everything changed, because my body started changing. My glutes grew. Things did get boring, I would just switch out my isolation movements, or I would just kind of rotate my glute days. So I was training glutes two times a week, and I would just kind of switch out my isolation movements, but I always did the same compounds every week, and I tracked my progress. And I saw a big difference once I started doing that, rather than going in every week and going based off what I was feeling that day. I just stuck to my routine that I had written down, and it makes it just so much easier. So number 4 was learning how to structure my workouts for my body type, for my goals, and for the body that I was looking for. So I learned that I was indeed quad dominant, throughout my journey. As I was taking pictures and looking through, I saw my quads were just growing, and my butt was just not poking out at all. The capital P, I was looking for that and I just could not find it for me in my pictures. It was just my quads were the P. So I was like, okay, that's weird, until I started doing some research and finding out that some people are blessed to be glute dominant and some are quad dominant, there's nothing wrong with that. You can still grow good glutes while being quad dominant, but it was just important for me to understand how to structure my workouts and how to structure my compounds. So with that, I started to do glute bridges, heavy glute bridges rather than hip thrust. You recruit less quads and hamstrings when you do glute bridges. So I was just focused on mind to muscle connection while I was lifting heavy. So yes, learning my body and learning that I was quad dominant and not every exercise was going to work for me, and I had to kind of change things around for my liking, for my body, really made a big difference. So once I learned that, it kind of really skyrocketed my results. Okay, number 5 is I stopped skipping cardio, and it's just really that simple. I just stopped because I was just not seeing the results that I wanted, you know, in my body in general. And even with eating in a slight surplus or maintaining, I was skipping my cardio just because I was tired, or I was just being lazy, and I saw other people skipping it too. Just because I had lifted, I thought that, you know, I was all set. I didn't need to do cardio, but it made the biggest difference for me. Like, I didn't lose any glute gains. I didn't lose anything. I gained more curves. I look more toned, and it really helps you with maintaining your body, even if you are in a surplus. Cardio is really important, not just for your heart health, but just to maintain your stamina and kind of help you kind of hop back in when you start cutting too. So it's a win-win. I think cardio was really great for me to be consistent with, because it really helped change my body, and it did not stop my glute growth. And at one point I started to do sprints on the treadmill, and that really helped my glute growth as well. So cardio is definitely important, and once I learned that I didn't need to skip it, I could just find what works for me, and I did, which is the treadmill. I do the treadmill. I do 20, 30, 40 minutes sometimes, depending on what I trained that day, and it works for me, and I don't lose any gains. If anything, I've seen better gains while implementing more cardio, or implementing cardio consistently in my routine. The last thing that I did was I stopped overtraining. I stopped doing 6 to 7 workouts, glute workouts in one session, because it was just unnecessary. It was just an excuse for me not to really push myself close to failure, really, because there was just no need to be doing 6, 7 workouts. I don't know how I had that energy, especially because now that I've switched to doing three compounds and like 1 to 2 isolation movements, I'm pretty drained at the end, because I'm really focusing on mind to muscle connection, and I'm really lifting heavy and pushing myself. So I don't really have extra energy to really add another compound movement. So it's just so crazy the difference it's made for me. I don't feel like I have to do 8 workouts anymore, and it's really great. I only do three compounds in 1 to 2 isolation movements, and I'm all set. And it's really allowed me to be able to add in cardio, which is what I wanted. So when I'm cutting, it's so much easier for me to kind of do my lifts, push myself, and then have that time for cardio, because I'm not doing 7 to 8 workouts. I'm just kind of taking more rests between sets and pushing myself close to failure, and I've seen such great results. I'm continuing to do the same thing, the same workouts. The only thing I've been switching is my isolation movements, and yeah, I'm very happy with my glute growth. Being quad dominant seemed like it was so daunting, but once I figured out what worked for me, how to tweak certain exercises, how to tweak my foot placement, it has really made a big difference for me. So thank you so much for watching. But yeah, these tips have really worked for me, and I hope that they work for you if you choose to implement any of them. And I'm not saying that these are set in stone, or these tips are going to promise you glute growth, but they've definitely helped me along the way. And with staying consistent and making sure that my nutrition was in check, I've definitely seen great results and great glute growth throughout my journey. So I wanted to share. If you like content like this, be sure to comment below, or like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.